This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, where I strategize with business owners on how to grow and scale their businesses to hit their income goals. This is episode 261 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. Today, we're going to be diving into how to make a full-time income with a niche site with Lynn from Proud Police Wife. This is such a great conversation because Rebecca is someone that I have known for, I think we talked about it was about 3-ish years, because that's when she became a student of Pitch Perfect Pro. She is just a great example of someone that took her niche, figured out the problem that she needed to solve for her audience, and got creative in the ways in which she worked with brands. So before we really continue into this conversation, I want to make sure that if you haven't already grabbed my pitch guide, that you do so. You're going to hear her talk about the fact that it's really important that you pitch yourself because they're not going to be able to necessarily find you, and that you don't need to be huge in order to do so. So you can send me a DM on Instagram at Jenny_Melrose and just tell me pitch guide, and I will send it directly to you. All right, let's dive in. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you because I think this is probably one of the questions I get asked all the time about what do I do with my niche site? How can I really truly make a full-time income with it? But before we jump into that, will you introduce yourself and your business?
Definitely. So my name is Rebecca Lynn, and I'm actually a former teacher that quote unquote retired from teaching. And now I am a blogger / writer influencer full time. So I blog at proudpolicewife.com. My husband's in law enforcement, and what I do is just provide support and resources for other law enforcement families, whether that be the officer themselves. It's usually mostly the spouses or maybe a sister, a brother, a parent. Just because a lot of times it's hard to find resources out there for first responder families. And so on my website, you can find anything from, gift ideas all the way to resources for mental health. And then you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram where I post just, relatable memes and reels and things like that to just make this community kind of come together a little bit more.
Yes. And how long have you had your site for?
I've had my site for 5 years. I just had my 5-year anniversary a couple weeks ago.
Okay. It seems like it's been longer because I know you and I have had conversations over the years about pitching and things of that nature. I can't believe it's only 5 years. It feels like it's longer.
It does feel like it's longer to me too. And that first year was really just kind of, building the foundation of my blog. I wasn't even on the social channels or anything yet. It was just writing in the beginning. So 5 years.
Excellent. So what makes your site a great example of a niche site?
So I think when I started in the very beginning, I tried to take all the courses and learn all of the things about blogging. And a lot of what I found was, if you post on Pinterest, that's going to be a huge traffic driver. And a lot of your income can come from ads. And everyone that I was talking from had more larger scale sites that saw success in a lot of them in the same ways versus me, who has a very niche site that serves it's a large community, but it's still smaller in the sense that not everyone is, going to be coming to my site. And a lot of times it was frustrating because I felt hey, I'm over here. I'm, getting, 30,000 page views a month and versus I'm talking to people that are getting, close to 1 million or things like that. So I felt discouraged my first year because in the beginning it was a lot of, you're not really going to grow past this point, or it's going to be hard to monetize. monetize, or you're not gonna, if you put all your eggs into the Pinterest basket sort of thing. And I felt like all of that stuff, I turned around and took it and said, no, I don't think that's true. I'm going to try this way. I'm going to try this way. So I now get more page views, but that's only because I've kind of built myself as, a reputable person in this community. But for years, it was under 30,000. My very first year, I only had about 10,000 page views a month and less than 1,000 followers on Facebook and Instagram. And I was still able to make money. And it wasn't just pennies from AdSense. I was able to develop a product and actually help my community and, serve my audience and make money from that.
Yes. And when you mentioned Pinterest, do you feel like your audience goes there looking for that type of content that you're providing them with?
Yes and no. So yes, I do have some people on Pinterest. I do get some traffic from Pinterest, and it's usually more driven to when there's a specific need. Like if they're looking for gifts for maybe someone, graduate from the police academy, or it's police week and they're looking for certain information. So there's, definitely influxes of when I get more traffic, but there's also months where Pinterest really doesn't give me a lot at all. And so people are pinning, definitely. And I think obviously, with the algorithm, if they search something law enforcement related once, it's going to come up again, but hopefully, but that's definitely not my biggest traffic driver. My biggest traffic driver is just organic traffic from Google. So that's why I work so hard on my SEO, because that's where, my people are searching the most. And honestly, Pinterest is number 3 for me. I get more traffic, believe it or not, from Facebook or just driving traffic from my own email newsletter when I share new posts. So Pinterest is number 3. And so I wasted a lot of time kind of, on that Pinterest bandwagon, thinking that it was going to drive traffic to my site continually, or that I could find all the ways to make Pinterest work for me. And really, it got to the point where I thought, okay, this isn't really producing what other people are saying. And I think it is because I have a niche site, and that's okay. So I just decided to pivot and find other ways that did work for me. If it wasn't good ROI, if I wasn't seeing a return on putting all this time into Pinterest, then I needed to pivot and put my time towards something else that did generate either email subscribers, traffic to my site, or income for myself in a shorter amount of time.
So you've already said that your site made money, right? So how did you go about, as a niche site, making money?
So my very first year, I was getting around 10,000 page views. And again, when you're on AdSense, I literally never got a dime from AdSense. I never hit the $100 threshold ever. And so within my first year, developed my own product. And so that's what I would say to anybody that has a niche site is, if you have an audience that has a problem and you have a solution for them, you have a way to solve that, then focus on that. It doesn't always have to be traffic. So I think I had at the time 800 email subscribers, and I made an ebook on, how to rock police wife life. And it was really just giving, tips about, if you're struggling with fear or struggling with, worry or, different things like that, here are some helpful solutions to get you through that. And I made $500. And for me, that was huge. That showed me okay, this is working. And then also kind of showed my husband that all the time that I was sitting down in the basement on my computer was actually worth it. And I wasn't just wasting hours and hours. I had a newborn. So I was down in my office at nighttime after I put the kids to bed, writing for hours. And so, but honestly, the product, to make my first ebook, it maybe took me 3 or 4 days. And it wasn't like 8-hour days. It was a couple hours in the evening. And you can just kind of drop, your colors in and write. And it was not hard. And then I sold it solely to my email list and made $500. And I sold it for, I'm trying to think the original price, but I think the original price was something like $12 or $15.
Right.
So to be able to sell that to such a small amount of people showed me, okay, one, like I'm on the right track. And two, this is helping to solve a problem. And I got so much good feedback from that. So that was definitely the very first way that I started making money. After that, my goal was to try to push myself to 30,000 page views a month, even if it was just one time, because I wanted to get to media buying, because I was not seeing any success with AdSense. I never did. So, after about a year and a half, I kind of strategically, I had a blog post that went viral. And so boom, when I got that traffic, I applied to Mediavine and got in. And so now I see a little bit of money from ads per month. But again, that's not the primary way that I make a full-time income.
So before you continue telling how else you monetize, I just want to clarify, because I know listeners are going, wait a second, she said 30,000. And of course, in the last year-ish, I want to say Mediavine, of course, changed to 50,000 sessions.
Yes, they did. Yes.
So I just want to make sure we clarify that for anyone that's listening going, wait, did they put it back down? It is still 50,000 sessions as of right now. And we're recording in, I don't even know what month it is, October
2021.
Okay, good. So now how else? So your product, a little bit of Mediavine, how else?
So products were first for me. I did like 3 or 4 products before I ventured out to different things. And now those products are more passive. So I don't really do launches for my products. I have them as tripwires. They're in my email funnels and things like that. Once in a while, I'll do like a flash sale or something like that in my email. But I have several different products on my site. And like I mentioned, ads. I also do a conference every year. So it's a virtual conference. And I bring in just experts from kind of our community, and people buy tickets for that. And I do have a free pass ticket, but then I also have like a year-long and a lifetime. So they get access to that conference for lifetime. But then I also have sponsors for that conference. And that is my biggest money driver right there. But I also do paid partnerships. And honestly, that's where my passion is, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I love to work with brands and showcase brands, but I only work with ones that I know use, love, and trust. And that's really important for any audience, but my audience knowing that I only market just products that we love and that I know that will solve a problem for my audience or help them with something. So that's a big way. That honestly is, brand partnerships are about 50% of my income. And so that's a huge chunk. I also do a little bit of affiliate marketing. That's not my favorite thing to do, but when it makes sense, I do them. Or if it's something where I hope to get a brand deal with that company in the future, then I do consider doing affiliate marketing. So it just has to make sense and have good kind of ROI for me. I also do, I have a course, and I also do, it's not coaching, but I do like a matching program. So kind of like a mentorship program for police spouses. And I know some other ways that niche sites can make money is to have a membership site. That wasn't something that worked for me, but I know other niche sites that are very successful with membership sites. And I think that's about it. And I know a lot of people do coaching as well. And so coaching is a big one where people can make a good chunk of money with a niche site.
So I want to go back to your conference real quick. How long have you been doing that for?
So I've been doing it for 3 years now. So I'm coming up, we always do it at the end of April every year. So I'm coming up on my 4th year. And I will say this, the conference alone, while it's a lot of work on the back end, but I can get it done in my own time. I interview people. So I have, again, different like experts within the community. I usually have 10 people that I interview and I drip that out over the course of the week. But that conference right there replaces my teaching income, what I made teaching. So it's 1 week of, kind of craziness, but also awesomeness that so many people are getting help in such a short amount of time. Then they have access to those videos for as long as they choose, either that week, the whole year, or lifetime. It's just amazing too, because my very first year, I had at the time, I don't want to say only because it's a good number, but I had around 8,000 email subscribers the very first year, but yet I had 12,000 people sign up for my virtual conference the very, very first year. And so it's spread like wildfire. So I think sometimes it's just about thinking outside of the box. When you have a niche site, trying to find something that's not already there. And it's, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, but when you're super niche, then you're able to kind of hone in on a specific area that your people need. It's easier, honestly, to find the problems that they're dealing with and to find those solutions because you're so niche and you're so narrowed down. And I remember thinking like, there's no way my goal was 500 people to sign up for this conference. And then the very first year I got 12,000. It literally crashed my website. So but in a phenomenal way. Like it got back up and running quickly. And it was just, it blew my mind. And then that very first year really proved, I took a lot of baseline data so that I could then show that to brands the very next year, and make even more money.
Yes, I love that. I think one of the things that I really want the listeners to hear that you continue to say is solving the problem and knowing what your audience needs. I think that that's something that a lot of bloggers and influencers struggle with. We are used to kind of throwing things against the wall like spaghetti to see what's going to stick. And we just kind of do whatever we feel like doing. And we're not thinking about necessarily that audience. And one of the things as a niche site that you have done so well is to really truly know that problem that they have and provide them with an amazing solution. I think the reason I wanted to go back to the conferences is because a lot of the listeners are probably saying, well, we've done virtual summits, but you did it before it was popular. You did it
before COVID.
Exactly. That was what I was getting at. That was why I wanted to know the timeline of what we were looking at. Because when they're hearing the way that you set it up, it sounds just like a virtual conference that I'm sure they all attended during COVID. But you did it prior to that. And of course, you said the data, which makes me happy because that is what makes a difference with brands. They want to know how this is actually going to end up hitting their ROI. So what are some of the brands that you've worked with on paid partnerships for your niche site?
Definitely. And can I say one thing going back to what you said?
Oh my goodness.
About things throwing spaghetti at the wall. So what kind of prompted the idea for this conference was I tried a membership site and it was a total utter fail for they didn't like it. And it wasn't something that, they just didn't have the time to, log in and, devote the time every single month. And then the other thing was too, is our community, people don't want to open up about specific struggles that they're having and talk about that in front of other people. So it just didn't work. However, the information I had in there was amazing and it could be used in a different way. I just had to look at it in a different way. So it's not that people didn't want the information. It was just the way that it was presented. So that's when I knew, okay, I'm going to try this conference where it's 1 week. People are dedicating 1 week. They can come back on their own time to watch and listen to these videos, but hyping it up to really listen during that 1 week, that they have interaction with these, speakers during this one set of time. And that's what stuck. So kind of, I didn't have to completely reinvent the wheel. I was able to reuse some of the information I had and find what really worked for my audience, but then also was good ROI for me.
Okay. So going back, that's perfect. I'm so glad that you explained that. So if we go back to the original question, I think that a lot of times when it comes to a niche site and working with brands on a paid partnership, a lot of people will struggle and say, well, there's only a couple brands I could work with. I don't know, who am I supposed to reach out to? I've had this conversation with anyone from not really my food bloggers, because they can obviously go into their kitchen and look around. But, the ones that are niche are the ones that really struggle. My organizers, just even people that talk about Instagram, they struggle with how could I do a paid partnership? So talk a little bit about the ways that who you worked with.
Definitely. So some brands that I've worked with. So keep in mind, these are super niche. So you may not, or the listeners may not have heard of them, but in our community, they're definitely, names that, people recognize. So I've worked with Angel Armor. They make bulletproof vests for law enforcement. A big one that I work with a lot is Arrest My Vest. They make spray for the bulletproof vest or, for the cars and canines. Officer privacy, and that's just keeping your information just protected on the internet so that people aren't taking your information and just running with it. Tactical baby gear, Shield Box, and they are like a subscription box for first responders. Honor the Brave, they're a national real estate company that offers programs for first responder and military. I've worked with Firehouse Subs. I've worked with King's Dominion, which is just an amusement park in my state, but kind of like Busch Gardens. But a lot of companies that I've worked with Diggerland. So a lot of companies that offer, what is the word I want to use? Just offer discounts, to first responder and military. They push that out. They want those discounts to be used, because if they're not, they do away with them. So anytime they have a first responder week or things like that, then a lot of times I will work with those companies to help get that out to, the masses basically. And honestly, I know it can be discouraging to think, because in the very beginning I thought, okay, there's a couple things that my husband uses that he, loves, is tried and true. But honestly, those are the companies that I have created year-long partnerships with, that now I don't feel like I need to pitch every brand and their mother every single month, because I have these year-long partnerships. I know what money I'm going to be bringing in. And these brands, they want niche sites that know exactly who they're talking to, know exactly who their audience is. Those are the brands that want to work with you. And so it's, when it's just, a food item and they can work with any food blogger, or, an article of clothing and they can work with any lifestyle blogger. But when it's something specific to your niche and you have demonstrated that you are just kind of the expert in your, yes, I was looking for that word. Sorry. You were the expert in your field or in your, community. They want to work with you. And I never, ever thought that I would have brands reaching out to me. I kind of was in that mindset that I would always have to pitch. And it's not like I have a large following. I don't. I have like 17,000 on, Instagram. But I have brands that reach out to me all of the time now. And it goes in influx. Like there are some months where I don't hear anything, and there's other times that I do. But it's because I've built myself as the expert in our community that, one, I have formed a good relationship with brands and I represent them well. And I give them data and feedback when the promotion is over, because you taught me that. And it's because there's usually a really good engagement for those companies, because I'm so niche.
And you've built an amazing community. So talk a little bit about the way that you create content for them, because you said 17,000 on Instagram. Has that been steady increase, or have you seen like spurts of increases because of maybe viral content?
Right. So honestly, my growth is always pretty steady. Once in a while, if I have anything that's viral, it's usually my blog post, and that's because of like Facebook. It got shared on Facebook, and then I see an influx. Or if
Mhm.
I've linked to something in a blog post that takes them back, I will, like, a spurt for me is maybe 300 people. It's not thousands. So my growth on all platforms is my email list, Facebook, all of that has always been really steady. I'm not at a point anymore. I used to be this way, and I think this is a fault of any new blogger is looking for that viral and looking at those numbers. And honestly, I look at the numbers purely, like, more my email list for data reasons, but not to, like, I'll have a goal to try to grow, but I don't let those numbers kind of stress me out anymore or anything like that, because I know that it's I just keep making content that resonates with my audience, and I'll keep growing.
So I know, because I am, of course, a follower that loves watching your content, and you jumped on Reels. Have
Yeah.
you done any sponsored Reels at all?
Absolutely. Yes. I actually just shared one today that's like with an affiliate. But yes, I do sponsored reels, and believe it or not, like, I have 7,000 followers on TikTok, which, if you're on TikTok, that's low. Like, it's low. And it's not like, there are some people that get 100,000 overnight. And I'm not one of those people, but I have that loyal group of followers, and I've already gotten paid now to do like 3 paid TikToks. Even though my, numbers are lower, it still gets great views for my audience. And then I repurpose them to use them as reels. And so now when I do brand partnerships, I always do a package. I never do like a rate sheet or anything like that. So I always do a package. And it normally includes, depending on what the brand wants, a reel or a TikTok. And so I love being able to be creative. Like, I was a kindergarten teacher prior to this. And so I like doing fun, creative things. And that allows me doing these reels and TikToks allows me to be creative and have fun, and also kind of show off whatever product or service that I'm sharing about in just a fun way that doesn't feel salesy or pushy or anything like that. The brands like it, my audience likes it, I have fun making them. So honestly, that's one of my favorite things to do for brands by far.
Yes. And they can't see me, of course, because they're listening to me, but I got all that little grin because, of course, you said no rate sheets, package
Yes.
price. Because that is the best way to be able to get them, to be able to negotiate, to be able to show your value. And the other thing that you said too was about long term. I think that one of the things that you have done really well is you have such an engaged community that you're using your data to show them that, so that they then buy in for longer term contracts with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has been the most beneficial. And that's a newer thing for me, like getting to the point where I have those year-long deals. I've only been doing that for about a year. Like, I'm just finishing my first kind of year-long promotion, but I've been renegotiating with those brands so that come January, we hit the ground running for another year. But now I have the data to back up that even my sponsored content, which for some people can, not get as many views or as many likes, but my sponsored content, I've, done those reels or TikToks well, and I weave it into blog posts so that it feels more natural. And those have some of my higher engagement. And so I can show that to my brands, and I show, like, this is my number one new blog post in the last 30 days with the top clicks on Pinterest, or, things like that. Show them that data. And then you're not only able to negotiate a year-long contract, but I was also just able to negotiate a year-long contract where I charge even more, because I can consistently show that produces higher engagement when I make that content for them. So, which is huge. And I also want to point out, I've never even worked with, like, they have a lot of, like websites where you can, like influencer websites where you can get
Networks.
like
Yep.
brand deals. Yeah, the networks. And I've never gone through a network at all. It's strictly been, finding that right email, the right person to contact at the right brand that I know will fit with my audience. And I'll be able to also serve that brand. And that's how I've gotten all of my deals. So, I felt doomed in the beginning too. Like, well, I'll never I'm not getting picked up from any networks or anything, but you just have to work outside of the box. And yeah, it might take a little bit more work to find that email, but it's definitely worth it.
So I have to ask you, when did you come into Pitch Perfect Pro? Because I remember a conversation. I don't know if we got on the phone or if we were going back and forth in DMs. Because I remember when you were interested and curious about Pitch Perfect Pro. Was it
Yeah.
3 years ago? Is
I was
that?
going to say 3 years about.
That's what I thought
think.
too. Yes. And I love hearing all the language that I use in the course coming from you, because that's exactly what you've done. You've made sure that your content is creative and pulls them in, is authentic to you, and is what your audience is looking for. And that's so much of what is taught in there, because it does end up doing well. And then you have the data to back it up to be able to get long term. So
Absolutely.
Rebecca, you're also in one of my masterminds right now. So I know that you obviously monetize beyond sponsorships and ebooks that you have had. You actually have something really exciting happening. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, definitely. So I'm coming out with, it's my second book, but my first traditionally published book, and it launches on November 2nd, or releases on November 2nd. So right now it's available for pre-order, and then, but you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, and it's called Proud Police Wife: 90 Devotions for Women Behind the Badge. So it's faith-based and it's devotional. So anyone that honestly is supportive of a police officer, you don't have to just be a wife. You can be, husband, a girlfriend, a fiance, a parent, anything like that. If you just need support where you want help on like how to pray for them and things like that, then definitely check it out. But it's super, super exciting. I self-published a book 2 years ago, and that was absolutely successful, but this was just a different route I wanted to take. And honestly, I wasn't looking to write another book at the time. I got approached and it worked out, and it's such a blessing. And so I'm so excited for my audience to have just another way to sort of connect with me. And I also open up and share a lot of things that I have never shared before. So I think it'll be great for them to be able to relate in that way, because I go a lot deeper than I do in just like blog posts.
Yes. So if you are someone that has a first responder in your life, police officer, or knows someone that does, that's always the best part. I think that something that you've done really well is you have used your community to help continue to grow, letting other people be able to share it and be a part of that community. So I love that. Where else, Rebecca, can they find you?
So they can find me on Facebook, which is, you can search for Proud Police Wife. Instagram, it's just Proud P Wife, but you can type in Proud Police Wife, it'll still come up. TikTok, and my website is proudpolicewife.com, and my email's on there and stuff like that. But those are all the ways that you can connect and contact me. And if whether you want to talk about like blogging or a niche site, feel free to message me. Or of course, you're definitely welcome if you love a first responder or know a first responder and just want ways to give them support, then definitely reach out.
Perfect. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun being able to chat about this. And, blogging is it's my job, but it's also a huge passion of mine. I absolutely love doing it. And I don't get to talk about it all the time. So when I do get to talk about it, it's super fun.
Agreed.
All right, there you have it. Rebecca has done an amazing job of really making sure to
monetize that niche site in creative ways that worked for her, but more importantly, for her audience. And she has not only continued to do that, but she has built an amazing community because of that engages with her and wants to do everything that she pretty much puts out, which does two things. One, it lets them want to buy her products. And two, it provides the brands that she's working with an audience that is their target market that she can obviously show them their ROI. So I hope that you found this episode just as helpful as I did. I also want to make sure that if you haven't already grabbed my pitch guide, that you send me a DM on Instagram at Jenny_Melrose so that we can make sure we get you started on pitching to your dream brands. As always, I appreciate you guys so much for listening in. If you haven't already left a review and rating on your favorite podcasting app, I would so appreciate it if you would. It gives me the opportunity to have great guests and to get in front of them and have them come on to the show. So I appreciate you all when you do that. And until next time, I will see you all then.